Israel's military response to the October 7, 2023 Hamas attacks has deeply divided opinion. Proponents argue Israel's actions constitute a legitimate exercise of its right to self-defense under the UN Charter, given the scale and brutality of the Hamas assault, while critics contend that Israel's conduct in Gaza, including mass civilian casualties, a blockade on humanitarian aid, and forced displacements, amounts to disproportionate force or even war crimes under international humanitarian law. On October 7, 2023, Hamas and affiliated armed groups, that is, terrorists, launched a large-scale assault on southern Israel, resulting in the deaths of over 1,400 civilians and the abduction of approximately 250 hostages, alongside widespread atrocities that Human Rights Watch characterized as war crimes and crimes against humanity by the perpetrators. In retaliation, Israel initiated a major military campaign in Gaza combining airstrikes, a ground invasion, and strict blockades on essential goods, leading by April 2025 to a Palestinian death toll exceeding 52,000, including thousands of children, according to UN reports. Under Article 51 of the UN Charter, a state may exercise its inherent right of self-defense when faced with an armed attack. International humanitarian law further obliges distinguishing between combatants and civilians and mandates that any military action be proportionate to the anticipated military advantage. Human Rights Watch and Amnesty International have documented numerous instances where Israeli operations struck civilian infrastructure, hospitals, schools, and residential areas, raising serious questions about proportionality and indiscriminate force. Moreover, the International Court of Justice is examining whether Israel's blockade on humanitarian aid constitutes a breach of its obligations as an occupying power under the Fourth Geneva Convention. Many legal experts argue that Hamas's October 7 attack triggered Israel's right to self-defense, and that robust military action was necessary to degrade Hamas's command structures, tunnel networks, and rocket capabilities, thus preventing future mass casualty attacks. Strikes on sites tied to Iran's support for Hamas have been defended as a legitimate extension of self-defense against the broader terrorist infrastructure funding such operations. Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch contend that Israel's tactics, especially the denial of water, food, and medical aid, amount to collective punishment and may constitute war crimes or crimes against humanity. Over 400,000 Palestinians have been uprooted, many into overcrowded, safe zones lacking adequate shelter and services, in violation of prohibitions on collective punishment and forcible transfer. The suspension of aid deliveries has been criticized as a coercive tactic that violates Israel's obligation to allow relief consignments to civilians under occupation. The International Court of Justice held hearings in April 2025 regarding Israel's humanitarian blockade, with several UN member states urging Israel to comply with international relief obligations. While the US, EU, and other allies have reiterated Israel's right to self-defense, many have simultaneously called for stronger measures to protect civilians and unimpeded humanitarian access. In summary, Israel's retaliation embodies the tension between a state's right to defend its population against terrorism and its legal duties to minimize civilian harm and ensure humanitarian relief. Although self-defense against Hamas's October 7th atrocities is widely recognized, the scale and methods of the Gaza campaign continue to provoke debate over proportionality, collective punishment, and accountability.